welcome back. In today's episode, we are going to basically be discussing a lot of comments and trouble spots that I was made aware of. So I was on a TikTok live last week, and I basically asked the people who were in the live, I was like, what did you guys think of the Stop Fucking Ignoring Yourself challenge? What did you think of the episode? How are you feeling? Are you stuck in any areas? What are the things that are coming up for you now that you've gained the knowledge and the understanding and you're kind of working through this stuff? And a lot of people had similar comments. A lot of people were stuck in similar places or discovering blocks in their brain that were very similar. So we're going to go through some of those today and discuss them, and I'm going to give you some tools to help basically get you through them. First thing we're going to discuss is someone brought up, I have a shopping addiction and I guilt myself and judge myself and hate myself for it every time I spend money. And a lot of people agreed or related to this in different ways. They were like, oh yeah, like I don't struggle with shopping necessarily, but I have certain things that I do for instant gratification that I then judge myself for. Or I have certain behaviors that I engage in because it makes me feel a certain way, and then I judge myself for it because I shouldn't be doing that, or I know I should be getting it from within. And so playing off of the Stop Fucking Ignoring Yourself episode that we were in, it has a lot to do with not judging and criticizing yourself for said behavior or coping mechanism or addiction, and accepting it and observing it and learning how to love yourself. Because if we're going to get to a place of true self-love, it has to start from a place of not trying to change ourselves. It has to start from a place of self-love and acceptance. And it's really hard to love and accept ourselves when we're criticizing and judging ourselves for things that we legitimately hate, or things that we're doing that are actively making our reality more difficult, making our finances more troublesome, or whatever it is, right? So a lot of people related to this need for instant gratification, or this doing or engaging in things that aren't serving me and then judging myself for it. So we're going to dive into that a little bit, and then we'll move on to some other comments that we got. So the first thing you're going to do when you notice a behavior or an activity that you engage in that you don't like is you're going to get to the root of why. Why do you do that? How does it make you feel? That's what you're going to ask to understand why. So I buy a lot of stuff even if I don't have the money for it. Great. Why do you do that? How does it make you feel? Oh, it makes me feel happy and fulfilled because I receive things that I like and they give me a hit of dopamine, or they release endorphins, or they get me excited, or whatever it is. And then I feel happy and fulfilled temporarily because of the thing that I purchased. Great. Quick question. Why do you associate the specific activity or behavior with happiness and fulfillment? Example, I never ever had anything to myself as a child. My siblings took everything that was mine. My parents always said no to purchasing me things that I wanted. And so I quickly learned that I could not have what I wanted. And as a child, I associated the thought of I'll feel happy when I can have the things that I want. I'll feel fulfilled when my room is full of stuff that I love, instead of always being told no or having things taken from me. So get to the root of why do I do this thing, aka how does it make me feel? And then get to the root of why is this thing the thing that makes me feel that way? You want to typically go into childhood, your teen years. If you're, in your 40s, 50s, older, it could even be in your 20s. It could be in your 30s. You're dealing with patterns from probably 10 plus years ago, no matter how old you are. Okay. So why does that thing bring me happiness or fulfillment? Now that you understand what the thing is bringing you and what the root cause is from childhood, or from at least fucking 10 years ago or whatever, now I want you to recognize something really fucking special about yourself. What you're doing right now when you engage in that activity or that behavior that you so judge and criticize yourself for because you view it as negative, what you're doing is so magical. You are going out and you are actively trying to help yourself. You are actively trying to make yourself feel better. You're doing something to make you feel happy, fulfilled, loved, whatever it is. That is how much you love yourself. That is how much you care about yourself and how badly you want to give yourself what you want and make yourself feel how you want to feel. Why are we criticizing that? Why are we judging that? That is beautiful. That's how much you love yourself, babe. Like, that is you doing your fucking best with the tools that you have. And I know that you're judging yourself for it because you don't like those tools and you associate negative things with being in debt. Okay, fair enough. I get that, which is why we're going to give you new tools today. But I want you to pause for a second, take a step back. And if you weren't placing value on buying things, being in debt, having coping mechanisms, if you weren't placing value on that, would you not look at it and go, wow, how beautiful, how fucking beautiful that this human being cares so much about themselves that they're trying to make themselves feel better? How beautiful that they want to help themselves, that they love themselves so much that they're going to keep trying to do better for themselves. Wow, that is beautiful. So take a sec and instead of criticizing and judging, flip the script. Love yourself for it. Good fucking job. I'm so proud of you because you've been trying all this time to make yourself feel better. That is step number one. That's step number one. That means that you love yourself. I'm sure you saw it. Everybody fucking saw this TikTok. It was all over the internet, like sometime last year. And this woman basically was like, if you are on the journey to trying to love yourself, guess what? You already did it. You do love yourself because you love yourself enough to fucking try. If you're on the self-love journey, you love yourself enough to try. And everyone was like mind blown by that. She was like, you already love yourself. This is the same fucking thing, okay? You're trying to make yourself feel better because you love yourself. And that's beautiful. I'm so proud of you. So take a step back, recognize that, flip the script, and see it for how it is instead of putting a negative connotation on it. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to understand, we already understand why we do it, what it brings us, and where in childhood, what it is that we're trying to repair and understand from that. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to find a new source of joy. You are going to find a new source of fulfillment. Okay, we're going to keep going with a shopping example, but feel free to, flip this story so that it aligns with you and something that you do that you don't love that makes you happy or makes you feel fulfilled or makes you feel valuable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Think of a behavior or an activity that you engage in and use this example, okay? So you are now going to, if we're going with it makes me feel happy and it makes me feel fulfilled, you are now going to make a list of things that make you feel happy and make you feel fulfilled. Maybe it is watching a movie with your spouse. Maybe it's playing with your children. Maybe it's giving your best friend advice. Maybe it's having a phone call with a parent. Maybe it's et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, okay? Write down a list of things that make you feel happy and fulfilled. Maybe it's cooking dinner for your family because you feel like you have a purpose. Maybe it's going to that job that you actually really fucking love, et cetera, et cetera. What makes you feel happy? What makes you feel fulfilled? Write it down because it's not just shopping or that thing you keep doing that you don't like. That's not the only solution. It's just a habit that we're in because it's the only tool that we know and understand right now. The next thing that you're going to do is you are going to do some journal work. Yep, you have got homework already. You're going to do some journal work on why you don't do these things. Why do you not prioritize making yourself feel happy and fulfilled on a daily basis? Then you're going to journal how you can make yourself feel happy and fulfilled on a daily basis without this thing that you're trying to cut out. In this scenario, it's shopping. And you're going to make a little commitment for yourself. These are the things that I'm going to do on a daily basis. And this is how I'm going to do that. You can also create mental checkpoints for yourself. Start to notice when you pick up your phone to open Amazon. Great. What were you just thinking or feeling internally that caused you to want to reach for the coping mechanism? What were you thinking or feeling? Write that down in your journal. What this will do is it will slowly start to help you see and understand what emotional states you're in when you get very subtly triggered into reaching for your coping mechanism or your addiction, okay? And once you start to recognize that pattern, you start to realize, oh, when I feel lonely, I start to reach for that thing. Oh, when I feel sad or like I'm having an emotion that I don't want to deal with, like it's just overwhelming, I don't want to think about that, I start to reach for that thing. And suddenly, you can start flipping the situation and completely changing the outcome. So now that you know it's when you feel sad or it's when you feel emotionally overwhelmed, great. Next time you feel sad or emotionally overwhelmed, instead of reaching for Amazon, you can go to that list and you can maybe bake something for your whole family because that makes you feel fulfilled. Or you can go for a walk because nature makes you feel fulfilled. Or you can call your grandma because showing her love and support makes you feel fulfilled. Whatever it is, right? You have a list of things that make you feel happy and fulfilled. Use it. The thing and the big trick with this is it's going to take like a week, maybe more, to get enough pattern recognition written down where you recognize this is the thing that triggers me into using my coping mechanism. And then like you need to like have that written down like multiple times a day. And it might not be multiple times a day. You only might have time to do it once a day or once every 2 days. So it could take a week, it could take two for you to end up with a tangible list of these are all the scenarios where I reached for my device, my coping mechanism. And now that I have a week's worth of data, I understand that it's sadness, it's emotional overwhelm, it's loneliness, etc., etc. Then you start to notice the feeling. And then instead of reaching for the thing you're trying to cut out, you can then reach for something on your list instead. Now, I want to make something very clear. This work sucks. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. This work fucking sucks. If I have a shopping addiction and I only shop when I feel lonely, the next time I feel lonely, absolutely 0% of me wants to call Bestie and have a conversation with her because it makes me feel fulfilled instead of opening Amazon. And I'm sorry, I don't want to do that. That fucking sucks. That is not the replacement that I want. That's like quitting cigarettes and replacing it with one of those fucking like smokeless vapes. Like, you're not actually inhaling. That's not what I want. I don't want to put something to my lips and pretend to inhale it. I want a fucking cigarette. You're quitting cigarettes right now, okay? So it's gonna suck and you're not gonna like it, okay? But what you're doing is you are retraining your brain and your nervous system that you can be the thing that gives you the thing, okay? It doesn't have to be Amazon. It doesn't have to be cigarettes. Can you tell I quit smoking cigarettes a few years ago? If you want to go even deeper, one thing that you can start to question for yourself, okay, the root cause is that I want to feel happy and fulfilled. In what areas of my life do I not feel happy and fulfilled? You can make a list of all the different areas of your life and all the different areas of a well-rounded life. And you can start to question, like, okay, in my physical area of life, do I feel happy and fulfilled? In my emotional area of life, do I feel happy and fulfilled? What about my social area? Do I feel happy and fulfilled? You can start to question these random things and you'll start to notice patterns that you weren't even aware of. And then you can intentionally make a list of these are the ways that I'm going to fulfill myself in my social area of life. These are the ways that I'm going to fulfill myself in my physical area of life because I'm realizing that it's not just my emotions, it's also all these different things that are going on. I don't feel happy and fulfilled in my work, so here's how I'm going to do better with that, etc., right? Okay, that's a good way to go deeper, is to really question, like, in what areas of life is this issue showing up? I'm sure that I could go deeper, but it's just a podcast episode, so I will stop on this topic here. But if you want to go deeper, and if you want me to specifically channel for you exactly what the root cause of your coping mechanism or addiction is, and exactly what areas of life it is showing up for you, and exactly what you need to do emotionally and physically to shift out of it, I highly recommend booking a session with me and I'll channel all of that for you and you will have all your fucking answers and you'll know exactly what to do, what work to be rooting to completely shift out of this thing that you're trying to remove from yourself. Okay? Use the tools that I just gave you. That will seriously, seriously help, and quit fucking judging yourself for it, because how fucking hot is it that you love yourself enough to fucking try? That's what your addiction is. That's what your coping mechanism is. That is you loving yourself enough to try something to make you feel better. It might not be the end all be all. It might not be the thing you want to land on, but that's hot. That is you loving yourself. And we're going to love ourselves even more by loving and accepting that and trying to shift into things that we find to be healthier. The next thing that people brought to my attention was struggling to show emotion and feeling like they're on a really, really short fuse, getting angry, lashing out, and snapping. And a lot of people found that the root cause of this was a childhood that was like a get over it childhood where you don't have emotions and your parents are like, literally, I'll give you something to cry about kind of childhoods. Those people now are really, really struggling to A, have emotions, B, share their emotions, and C, even feel them in their own body. When I tell you it took me years to even feel my emotions in my own body, I'm not kidding. When my therapist said to me, oh, you're sad, where do you feel that in your body? I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's literally what I said to her. I was like, what the fuck? She was like, where do you feel the sad in your body? I was like, I don't. What are you talking about? It's in my brain. I'm sad. I'm mentally sad. She was like, no, but how does that feel? I was like, it doesn't. What the fuck are you talking about? Do people feel emotions in their body? She was like, yes, Danielle, they do. I was like, what? It blew my mind for a solid 6 months. I was like, people feel emotions in their body. I call bullshit. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, y'all are just tripping. Like, there's no way that that's true. And after enough nervous system regulation work and working through the traumas and stuff that I was working with her and working to drop out of my brain and into my body, now I feel my emotions in my body. And I didn't even know that that was a thing. So when I tell you that this is going to take work, I'm serious and I mean it. And when I tell you it's not going to happen overnight, I'm serious and I mean it. So if you had a get over it childhood, chances are you don't know the emotions that you're having. You literally are not aware of them. They're probably being masked by other things. Maybe they're being masked by hyper-independence. Maybe they're being masked by anger and frustration, hence the short fuse. Maybe your emotions are being masked by overwhelm, etc., etc., etc. Your emotions, your feelings are masked by other things so that you get over it and can move on and not have to fucking feel it, deal with it, or think about it. This results in a lot of very, very easy emotional overwhelm. Someone says something, it's your last fucking straw. For example, when I'm emotionally overwhelmed, I'm having a lot of emotions that I'm not allowing myself to fully experience. Maybe my ego is judging and criticizing my emotions. Oh, you shouldn't be sad about that. Oh, that shouldn't bother you. Oh, that's not worth your time. Oh, that's stupid. Oh, you're better than that. You shouldn't feel that way. Like, get over it. Whatever. My ego's judging it because it thinks I'm better than that or whatever. And so I'm sad. I'm overwhelmed, I'm feeling hurt, I'm not feeling loved or cared about, whatever it is, and all these things are happening simultaneously, and my ego's like, that's stupid. And then my cat comes up to me and she's like, meow, and I'm like, shut up, like, I can't help you right now, that's too much, I can't even help myself. It's like, for whatever reason, her needing my attention is like the last fucking straw, and then I bust, I fucking explode, I erupt, and I'm like, wow, that was really mean. Like, what? Why? And it's because I'm overwhelmed by all of the things that I'm thinking, feeling, and judging myself for. And instead of actually feeling them, accepting them, okaying them, and letting them pass through, I'm holding them in and I'm bottling them up. And then that last fucking person or animal needs my attention or says something slightly annoying, and then I erupt, right? So that's not like a common issue for me. It's just an example of how it shows up for me, okay? And it doesn't matter if it's common for you or if it's sometimes for you. Like, there's no value on it. We're all at the exact point in our journey where we're supposed to be. Like, okay, what I'm saying to you is that if that's happening, it is probably because you're bottling up, judging, criticizing, and not allowing yourself to feel and express and experience your emotions. So what we're going to do is similar to what we did in our first example. First, we're going to question, why? Why don't I allow myself to feel my emotions? Maybe the answer is it doesn't feel safe. Maybe the answer is, well, that's not productive. That's not going to help me get through my workday. Maybe the answer is because I hate them. Maybe the answer is because they hurt. Maybe it's because they don't make sense to me. Great. Find your answer. Let's just say that your answer to why you don't let yourself feel your emotions is because they're not productive. Okay, that's why you don't let yourself feel your emotions. Now we're going to go into why do I have this belief? Because whatever you wrote down for your why is a belief. They hurt, they aren't productive, I don't like them, they're not going to help me get through my day. That's a belief, okay? You think that they hurt because you're bottling them up and not actually experiencing them. You think that they're not productive because you don't see how that's going to get you your promotion. But what you don't understand is that releasing it, letting it out, and relinquishing it would actually get you there 10 times faster. Okay, so we have our why, and then we have why do I have this belief? This is going to go into childhood. I believe that my emotions are not productive because as a child, I was literally told all the time to man up, get over it. That's not helping anyone. Stop crying. What do you want? I can't help you. And so I learned as a child that my emotions are not productive, they're not valued, they're not going to get me anywhere. And so I just ignore them because that's what my parentals taught me. This is an example. I'm not saying that this was my childhood. So now you have your why and you have your root cause, which is whatever it is from childhood or your teen years or your 20s, whatever it is. From here, we're going to disprove that belief. Let's say that your belief is my emotions are not productive and I know that this is coming from childhood because my parents always did XYZ. Great. Now I want you to make a list of reasons why this is false. Why is feeling emotions actually always been really beneficial for your sister? Why have you seen how feeling emotions has actually gotten people famous and helped them in their acting careers? Why have you seen how feeling emotions has actually strengthened and deepened your relationship with your significant other? How have you seen that when your coworker went to your boss and was like, I'm not feeling valued, your boss was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that we were overlooking you. Let's talk about this, right? In what scenarios have you seen emotions actually be productive? Maybe it's your biggest breakthrough you ever had in therapy because you sat down and really felt it for a sec. Let's say, for example, that your emotion or your belief is that my emotions hurt, they're painful. And I know that the root of this belief is the fact that every time I feel my emotions, I'm fucking crying. I'm in pain. I don't like it. I feel like someone's punching me in the gut. I'm nauseous. Ugh. Okay, that's your belief and its reason. And it's being backed up by your experience, right? You're like, no, it literally fucking hurts. This is a harder one to get through, but I promise you can, because that used to be my belief. I was like, no. It hurts. Like, I don't want to feel it hurts. And the belief is being backed up by my reality because I'm in physical pain. So what do you do when your physical reality is proving your belief over and over and over and over again? Great question. I'm so glad you asked. I am the person to answer because I've been here, okay? Again, as I've talked about many times before, your brain is creating your reality, and just because it's real and happening doesn't mean that it has to stay real and keep happening, okay? So just because your experience has been my emotions are painful doesn't mean that they have to keep being painful, okay? The only reason that your emotions are so fucking painful that it's too much to handle is because they're shoved down, compressed, and bottled up and getting worse and worse and worse and worse because they're not being looked at. Your emotions are your brain and your body's way of trying to tell you something that needs to be looked at, worked through, expressed, etc. And so when that's all bottled up and not worked through, all that stuff that needs to be looked at, worked on, or experienced or expressed is also bottled up. It has nowhere to go. And so it needs your help getting there. So what you're going to do is you're going to start small. Write down a list of every time you have experienced an emotion that wasn't painful. How about when you saved $3 on your carton of eggs? That was a moment of gratitude or happiness. That's an emotion that wasn't painful. How about when your spouse proposed to you? How about when your friends all came over for your birthday? Start with good things that make you happy and recognize how those emotions, that joy, that happiness, that gratitude, that sense of inner peace, that didn't bring you pain. Great. Now think about that time that you experienced something that usually you would perceive to be negative, like maybe sadness, because someone said something that kind of was hurtful to you. And you went home and you talked about it to someone. And instead of crying your eyes out all night long, you shed a couple tears and you had this peaceful, well, that's where they're at. And that doesn't mean anything about me. And I'm sad about it. But at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. And by the next day, you were fine. You were over it because it hurt, but you let it out. And so it wasn't this painful, gut-wrenching, horrible thing, right? When was the last time that you were angry and it didn't kill you? When was the last time that you cried and it didn't feel like you were going to pass out and hyperventilate? When was the last time that you experienced anxiety, but you got through it, okay? And start proving to yourself through these little moments and these little experiences that I had an emotion and it wasn't that painful. It wasn't as big and bad as I make it out to be. Now, if you're anything like me, you might be struggling to think of times like this. That's okay. You will start to notice them going forward and you can write them down. Someone said something that kind of hurt my feelings. It made me a little sad. I let myself actually think about it and actually talk about it. And instead of crying, screaming, throwing up on the kitchen floor later that night, instead I was just like, well, that was hurtful. And then I was over it and it was okay. You'll notice with very minute, very small things, and then you'll start to get bigger and bigger. What this is doing is it's disproving the reality that you've been living in. To make this like bigger scale so you might understand it better, when people are like struggling with abundance and making money, and they're like, okay, we'll start to notice all the abundance that's in your life, and then slowly but surely you start to attract more abundance because you're focused on abundance, and then you start to receive more money. Maybe you get that raise. You start to manifest through noticing and appreciating, right? It's the same thing, but you're disproving a former reality. Feeling my emotions hurts. Feeling my emotions isn't productive. Do you see my point? I hope you do. You do. It's good. You've got it. One more thing that I'll mention on this topic of learning to feel emotions is that sometimes after we snap, that moment where you yell at the dog or the cat or your partner or someone because you're overwhelmed and it's too much because you have it all bottled up, there needs to be a moment of self-forgiveness and a moment of regulation after that. Because if you let that stuff build up and you start to get more and more angry with yourself, oh, I'm mistreating people who deserve better. Oh, I'm being mean. Oh, the dog didn't deserve that, whatever. If you start to beat yourself up for that, you are creating more self-hatred and you're digging yourself deeper and deeper and deeper into the hole of not loving yourself, and it's going to be even harder to get out. And I don't know what it is about the human condition, but we struggle so much to just like see ourselves as human, to recognize that like we make mistakes. And of course you were overwhelmed today because you took on so much that you didn't allow yourself to feel and release. So of course you reacted that way. And that's okay. We can see why that happened and how anyone else in this position would have reacted this way too. And we can love ourselves and we can apologize to the people that we hurt and we can work on doing better. That doesn't make us a bad person. That doesn't make us evil or worth hating. In fact, we're just having a perfect little human experience right now, and this was unfortunately part of it. Oh well, okay, I can move on from this. I don't need to dig myself deeper into the hole. Instead, oops, fuck, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I'm trying to not do that anymore. And I'm realizing now the root of why that's happening. And I'm going to do better because I'm going to give myself what I need, AKA feeling your emotions. And that will prevent me from taking it out on other people or from exploding and lashing out. So thank you for being patient with me while I learn about myself and try to do better for myself. That's it. It's that simple. You're doing your best. That's it. You're not evil. You're not the villain. If you're listening to this fucking podcast, you care enough about yourself to do better and to have a better experience than you've been having. That right there is enough. That's everything. You're doing it right now. You don't need to be criticized by yourself or anyone else. You're doing your best and you're just going to keep doing that. And that's okay. So forgive yourself and give yourself grace. Period. You're human, you're doing your best, you are learning about yourself, and anyone else in that exact situation with the same exact tools and experiences that you have would have reacted the exact same way. Period. And anyone else moving forward with the tools and information that you're gaining here today will react slightly differently each time until real change starts to take place. And real change sometimes is slow. So love, accept, forgive yourself, move on, because sitting in the hole of self-hatred and being mad at yourself is slowing down the process. It's really not helping. You want to do better? Love yourself. That's where it starts. Forgive yourself. That's where it starts. You didn't mean it. You did the best with what you had, and you're working to gain more right now. Period. Okay, something else that people talked about in my live was struggling to find things that make them feel happy for extended periods of time. And this goes into the first topic we discussed today about instant gratification and addictions and things, because sometimes we'll find ourselves jumping from thing to thing to thing, looking for something to make us happy, make us feel fulfilled, bring us joy, etc., etc. And what we're not realizing is that we're going external to get something that we're lacking internal, okay? So what you need to do is, again, with that work I gave you, with the making a list of things that make you happy and feel fulfilled, I want you to make a list of things that you can do to make yourself feel happy and fulfilled from within. Maybe it's recognizing each time something brings me joy. Maybe it is going outside more because the sunlight just makes me feel fulfilled, right? You have that list from the first thing we talked about. One thing you can do to flip the script and really understand yourself better and look at this backwards. Don't do this first. Only do this after you have your self-fulfillment list created. Then you can do this. Make a list of things that you actively do on a daily or regular basis that make you feel the opposite of what you want to feel. Things that don't make you feel joy. Maybe you invalidate your emotions. Maybe you shove them down. Maybe you judge yourself. Maybe you criticize yourself. Maybe you talk shit to yourself, etc., etc., etc. What are you doing to perpetuate the cycle? Because that is showing your nervous system that you're not safe within and is forcing you to go external to find things that make you feel how you want to feel. But if we can recognize what we're doing to make ourselves feel like we can't get it from within, we can start to change that, stop doing that, recognize it when it happens, and replace it with something that does make us feel safe, happy, fulfilled, etc. And we'll stop going external. At the end of the day, everything that we're attempting to feel and wanting to experience is something that we can experience from within. It's just a matter of understanding how and why, the roots of where the problem originated from, and what you're doing to perpetuate the cycle and what you can do to make it different. Last thing I'll touch on today is someone said in the live that they're really struggling to care for themselves as much as they care for other people, meaning they're always putting other people first. And this is relevant to our Stop Fucking Ignoring Yourself episode, because one of the pieces of the challenge was to do something for yourself first every single day before you go do something for other people, because that's a big part of self-love and prioritizing yourself. And I want to give you an example that my bestie gave to me the other day. I was talking to her about energy work and explaining to her why we need to do our energy work as practitioners. And she's not an active practitioner, but she's learning a lot of stuff and has a lot of questions right now. What I said to her was, as a practitioner, I always have to do my energy work before I do my client's energy work, because my client is coming to me asking me to assist them. What if I went into my therapist's office and I said, oh, like, I want to talk to you and vent about this stuff and get advice on this stuff. And the whole time I'm talking to her, she's sitting next to me on the couch talking to her therapist, because I'm stressing her out and it's a lot to deal with what I'm going through, and she needs coping mechanisms for dealing with her clients. That would not be helpful for me. I expect my therapist to have her own therapist and talk about that stuff and deal with her energy and her stuff and her time on her own, so that she can show up for me 100% and help me the way I need to be helped. Gabby looked at me and she goes, well, she didn't really look at me because we're on we're texting and voice memoing, but she basically replied back to me and she goes, oh my God, it's like the fucking airplane example where you and your 4-year-old are on an airplane and the oxygen masks come down and they're like, who do you put the oxygen mask on first? The 4-year-old that you're traveling with or yourself? And a lot of people instinctually like, oh, the 4-year-old, like, because we have this protector energy, this nature to sacrifice ourselves for others. And the answer to that is no, you put your own oxygen mask on first, because if you try to put on the 4-year-olds and you pass out, now the 4-year-old doesn't have oxygen and you don't have oxygen, and you're both gonna fucking die. But if you put on your oxygen mask and the 4-year-old passes out, you can now help them. You can put the oxygen mask on them, you can do CPR, etc., etc. If you pass out, the 4-year-old does not know how to get an oxygen mask, how to do CPR. You have just killed both of you because you tried to put that other person first. Versus if you had just taken the 2 seconds that it would have taken to prioritize yourself in the beginning, you then would have been able to help the 4-year-old no matter what fate the 4-year-old faced, because you have the tools and the information. So, same thing applies. My therapist helps herself first so that she can help me. As the energy practitioner, I take care of my energy first because I'm the one with the tools and the information. That way I can help you. The same thing goes for you. If anyone in your life needs your energy, you take care of yourself first because you have the tools, the information, and the compassion or help, whatever it is that your people need. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't give it to them if you're also needing help. So if you want to love and prioritize and help people, and you live to help other people, which by the way is a whole other conversation that we'll get into about learning how to actually love ourselves more than the people in our lives, because it is so easy to become addicted to waking up every day for other people instead of waking up every day for yourself. But that's a different podcast episode and a different conversation. It's all part of the self-love though. If right now prioritizing other people is what's easiest for you, the number one way that you can prioritize other people is to put yourself first. Put on your oxygen mask so that you don't both die. You have to put yours on first. You have to. It is the only way to help people the best. So before I help you, I'm doing my energy work. Before I put the 4-year-old's oxygen mask on, I'm putting mine on. Before you go help other people, you need to make sure that you're taken care of. If your family wants dinner and you are starving, you need to eat a snack before you cook that dinner, because you're going to be angry, irritable, hangry, whatever, because you're frustrated and annoyed and you're not having fun, and maybe you're going to make mistakes and burn food and not season things correctly because you're in a state of dysregulation. You haven't been taken care of, you're not nourished, and so you are failing to nourish people as well as you could because you didn't nourish yourself first. Period. I hope that helps you. Obviously, it's a topic that we could go into for a hot minute, and we will. It's all part of the self-love journey, and prioritizing yourself and setting boundaries with other people. That is all stuff we'll get into, but this is the first few things that were mentioned to me in that TikTok live that I did. So I wanted to start here with you guys, give you the tools for how to understand, get to the root of, and shift your addictions, your behaviors, and your coping mechanisms that you don't want to be in, and how to understand, get to the root of, and shift your inability to experience and feel your emotions, and then also learn a little bit better on how to prioritize yourself before prioritizing other people. So that's what we did today. There are more things that people brought up that I will be talking about. Some of them are their own podcast episode. We'll get there, I promise. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like to book a session with me and get your personalized information, you can do so on my website, thecenteredsoulco.com. I can channel for you every little bit of specific information, give you the perfect step-by-step for you, and it'll be absolutely insanely transformative, and you'll get to the root of this stuff and work through these issues far faster than you would if you're doing it on your own. I know that it's not feasible for everyone to book a session, which is why I am equipping you to do it on your own. I love you so much. You're doing amazing, and you will reach your goals. If you have questions, you can email me at daniellerose@thecenteredsoulco.com. And if you made it this far in the episode, I want you to comment a dolphin emoji. It's so sus. It's so weird. If people are seeing dolphin emojis in the comments, they're not going to understand why. So, but I want to know. I love seeing who makes it this far in the episode. And also make sure that you like, follow, subscribe, rate the podcast if you are on Spotify. Save the podcast episode too. That helps so, so, so much. And I will see you guys in the next one. I love you, and I hope that this episode brought you one step closer to achieving a centered soul.